Hi guys and welcome back to Adams Aquatics. In today's video we're going to be giving you a little bit of an update on what's going on in the fish room. A bit similar to the Tuesday vlog style video, but actually this time we're just going to be going specifically into a couple of tanks. So we're going to talk about my Pistogramma Master Eye Golds, and we're going to be talking about my Pistogramma Elizabethae Reds, and specifically going into what's going on with those two. Just thought I'd give you a quick update as to what's going on.
So I don't really know what it is, but this tank seems to be the most prolific pair that I have in the fish room. So they've had fry again, and I've moved them to a new fry box that I've added to the front of their tank. I've only removed 12 of the fry. There's quite considerably more in the tank, but actually I'm just going to see what happens again. Also, there's another bigger fry that I've seen running around in the tank, so another one similar to what happened with Mars and Venus, where that fry survived and it's continued to live in the tank. And I'm just going to let him go and see how big he gets in the tank, and then eventually if he gets too big and Osiris or Big O decides to get too aggressive with him, here he is here, just literally swimming underneath the filter. If he does get too aggressive with him, what I'm going to do is then pull him out and put him into the massive grab box like I have done the rest. So let's just see what's going on with their current broods of fry. So this is the newest ones, literally probably about 4 or 5 days old. Just pulled it this morning. Here's one of the fry just here, so if I can focus on it. Just down here, eating baby brine shrimp straight away. Just put some baby brine shrimp in here to feed him. Here's some more. These guys now are probably about 4 to 5 weeks old. I moved them from the grow out trays into a breeder box just because I wanted to actually see them growing, and they're growing nice and quickly. There's 11 left out of the 30, so I made a bit of a mistake when I was transferring them from the breeder box to the from the grow out trays to the breeder box, unfortunately, and that cost quite a few lives. Also, when I went away for a week, I thought that there was no deaths in the breeding boxes, but actually there was quite a few, and quite a few of the bigger ones passed, which is obviously, you know, what I would have expected considering what's gone on in the past. So I need to find out what exactly I've done in order to set up, in order for this setup. I don't know whether it's the temperature, because this tank is actually quite cooler than the top rack, but I need to know what I've done in order to replicate that in the rest of my tanks. You know, I just want to make sure that I'm making the most fry that I can out in this fish room, and like I've always said before, make sure that I'm bringing the best quality that I can. So, you know, we might not have the biggest broods or the biggest amount of fry, but actually the best fry are the ones that we are eventually going to be able to pass on or sell, or whatever it is we do with them. That is what we're going to do. So, you know, I'm quite happy with what's going on at the moment. The 4 that are growing out in the big grow out tote are growing really, really well. There's probably got about another 2 to 3 weeks of growing before they get big enough for me to be willing to get rid of them. And also, I'm also going to be moving on the last of Apollo and Aphrodite's fry. So the last male that I have, and one of the females that's in there was set, and the other female got too aggressive with them, so I'm going to move them on. I have somebody that wants them, so I'm going to pass them on to them, and hopefully they'll give them a nice home. And yeah, that's just really what we're doing with those guys. So this morning I was doing maintenance on this tank, or on all my tanks, like I always do once a week, and I couldn't see the female, and I hadn't seen her for a few days, so I was thinking to myself, okay, is it going to be fry or what's going on? So I pulled this tank apart, and I couldn't find her anywhere, and she was hiding underneath this sponge filter here, and that's because her male Erebos, this guy here, had been really aggressive with her, and he's pecked out her eye. So I've moved her into the hospital tank, which is literally next door now. She's having a bath of methylene blue, which should help with any antifungus, and I'm going to feed her really lots and lots of food. Make sure that the tank gets nice and warm, because it's right next to the heater, and to make sure that she's fine before she goes back in there with him. Now, I'm not too sure whether I'm going to put her back in there with him or what I'm going to do with her, but I'm just going to make sure that I nurse her back to recovery before I even think about putting her back in there with him. This morning, when I was just trying to find out what was going on, obviously I moved the sponge filter and she limped out from underneath the sponge filter, and he was straight on her, pecking at her. Now, all he wants to do is breed, and that's what it is. It's very similar to what I've seen with other Pistogrammas. You know, all he wants to do is breed, and she's either too small or just not interested in him yet, and he's just gone at her to the point where he's pecked her eye out. And you know, it's quite sad, but I think I can bring her back to good health. Not necessarily great health, because she's never going to grow an eye back, but you know, I am quite confident that I can help her recover, at least to be quite a strong fish, in order to go back in there with him. Now, are we going to look at getting another female for him?
Most probably, because I don't feel like that would be a good breeding setup for him, just him and her, and you know, I just can't see it ending well in the end. You know, what happened with if we look back to what happened with Percy and his first female, obviously she lost an eye, and then eventually she passed because he was just too rough of her. And they're very similar. I'm pretty sure they're from very similar bloodlines, Agassiz and Elizabethae. I'm pretty sure they're from the same variant. So, you know, what we're going to do now is just help to recover, and then we're going to put her back in there with him and see what happens. Similar to what we did with the Aviaxis, you know, now those two get on great. You know, they seem to get on fine to begin with, and maybe it was during my holiday where something went wrong and I obviously didn't notice. You know, and that happens in fish keeping, and obviously I'm still learning, learning as an aquarist, learning as a hobbyist, and actually I feel like I've learned from that, and actually what I'm going to do next time is make sure that I'm keeping a close eye on the pairs when they first go in. You know, a lot of the pistogrammers are relatively peaceful with each other, and actually they'll tolerate each other, but there are some that are really aggressive and that just will not tolerate each other, as I've already highlighted with the Aviaxis, with Agassiz. You know, if you've got peaceful guys like Master Isle Cacatoides, they relatively take to each other quite well. You know, so it's more about knowing what the fish looks like, looking for the distress signs, looking for the signs of stuff going wrong, and you know, it happened. I'm showing you guys good transparency and honesty, and that's just where we're at.
So the reason that we've gone for breeder boxes over the usual way of growing these guys out, which would obviously be the fry grout trays, is because I want to use the grout trays for hard water fish, so my shell dwellers. I've seen a lot of breeding action, and I've not seen too many fry survive because they're eating them, basically. The females trying to defend them, but the males keep eating them. So what I'm going to do is going to raise these guys, and obviously these guys are able to have 3 different chambers in them. I'm going to raise any Apistogramma fry in these grout boxes, and then to address them to bigger boxes. Obviously I've got the tray things that I bought from like a bargain shop to help to grow these guys out, and I think actually I'll be able to grow them out relatively quickly. Obviously it helps to give extra volume to these tanks as well, because you added in an extra 5 litres to the outside of the tank, and it really helps with water quality for the fish as well, because you know, all of this comes from the main tank, and as we already know, I do quite a lot of water changes, and I do what I can to make sure these guys are kept in a really good condition. As you can see from this guy here, he is an absolute monster, and he's absolutely fantastic. I love watching him. He is honestly one of my most favourite fish in this fish room, and he's grown from such a tiny little tiddler to this absolutely humongous beast. I'm really, really happy with him.
So that pretty much sums it up for this video, guys. You know, I've given you a little quick update on what's going on with a couple of my tanks in my fish room. You know, one which is a really, really happy, positive news, and one which is not very good news, but actually what we're going to do is take the steps we can in order to bring them back to health. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure you like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at adams.aquatics, and join me next time for Tuesday for another vlog style video where I'll go through all of the ins and outs in the fish room this week. Nice update on exactly what's going on, like I always do on a Tuesday, and I hope you enjoy that. See you then.